Hello viewers, I'm SB and welcome back to Sunless Skies, where today I suspect we are going to be doing quite a bit of aimless wandering. So I bought us another crate of supplies so that we can be pretty aggressive with the scout, and I think with that our business in London is concluded, so let's just get a move on here. So my plan is to just sort of go out west and pick up where our arc last time left off, get over here and then just sort of run around the north, run around sort of the outside rim of the map. It's possible that there's stuff of interest in this dark area that we sort of cut out, but it looks to me like it's just an extension of the heavily enclosed area around London. Basically, I don't think there are going to be ports over here. Maybe I'm wrong. You know, the map's not that large. We'll find out pretty quickly here. Quickly is probably too strong. But we will find out eventually, at the very least. Also, the date. I want to thank the people who pointed out that the date has always been on the screen. It's right here, down below our cargo and crew counters. Literally 100% of the time, that is visible. So, oops. Listen, it's remarkable what you can allow to escape you if it is at the edges of the screen. That's my excuse. They put it too far out to the edge of the screen. Whose eyes actually wander all the way down here? That's the best I got. Really all it is just a very embarrassing failure to pay attention on my part. Certainly something I've been guilty of more than once. Hell, more than once on camera. So I do want to thank everybody who had stuff to say about Cultist Simulator and also poetry in general. I thought this was like a bridge we were going to be able to go under. People had stuff to say about Cultist Simulator and poetry in the comments of the last episode. I realized... Ooh, I think I hear combat. Hold on. No, maybe not. Maybe somebody just rammed into a building. Okay, I realized I was pretty vague with what I was talking about. Like, I was not even really making it clear what my issue with poetry is, aside from I'm a big dummy who doesn't get it. And I realized that part of that is because I don't have a good grasp of exactly what the issue is myself. So I was thinking about it last night. I was trying to figure out what what is the issue that I actually have with, like, verse, and also to some degree like visual art. And oh Jesus, I've suffered a critical hit. That's a lot of fire very suddenly. Come on, cool down. Oh, look at that. I feel like this train actually moves to the side a lot more when we hit the sideways. Ooh, I hit the wrong one there. When we hit the sideways thrusters. Come on, come on, come on. Screw it. I'll take the firing while overheated damage there to ensure that the job gets done. Well, we could search for something we could trade, but that's basically guaranteed not to work out, so I guess let's scavenge for parts. We'll gain hull and also terror. Great, just what we needed. The Explorer is beyond repair, as are its crew, but perhaps something might be salvageable. Okay, we almost capped out on hull. Crew work hastily. There are mistakes. Fortunately, none of the wounds are serious. Trembling, bruised, and quiet, they return, bearing plates of wood and metal. They'll keep you in the sky a little longer. Yeah, that was really something there. It's that dreadnought who went past us right before that was fleeing the combat. We're far enough out in the black that it's probably reasonable to send out the scout. Can I tell you? Oh, hey, a port right there. The scout coming back at us really fast from the left side of the screen scared the hell out of me, even though I had just sent it out and knew it was coming back. Oh, the Clockwork Sun. Hey, we found it. That's actually pretty okay. We have business here. Don't love being here while my terror is so high, because we're going to gain a whole lot more. Alright, what is over here? Oh. This isn't a homestead, is it? Alright, well, I guess let's dock and get this over with quickly. We'll get back to what I was thinking about last night once we're in the air again. We have a little bit of business to conduct here first. Hey, that was a pretty good swing around into port move I just pulled there. Okay, a commotion from the engine room. During your recent battle, shrapnel pierced the hull and perforated a cluster of pressure lines. In order to maintain boiler pressure, your locomotive now has to glug fuel the way your aunt does sherry. Well, shoot. We'll just have to live with the fuel leaks in the meantime? That seems bad. Leave it be and take a serious fuel efficiency until you... Ah, man, until you go all the way back to London. Alright, let's actually fix it. When the engine dies, the pipes and the boiler fall silent. As they cool, your locomotive yields to the sky's pitiless cold. The breath of your crew mists in the air. When the repairs are finally completed, you begin the laborious process of restarting the engine and getting the boiler back up to temperature. It is 3 bitter days before you are underway again. Wow, 10 more terror. Okay, that's a serious problem. Well, here we are, once again at Sunspur. A nervous face whispers to you from behind a bulkhead. Help us. We were brought here to build the Clockwork Sun. Lots of abandoned storerooms. Help us raid them and take your fill. Safety in numbers. The sun despises thieves, but its anger can't shine on all of us. Oh, man. Well, we could send crew to scavenge for supplies. I hate to think of it this way, but we do have enough crew that we could afford to spare some. And it would be nice to not have to go back to London immediately. Alright, good luck, guys. Yeah, see, my crew's competent. They know what's up. Wow, 5 supplies. Hours pass before your crew members return, laden with dusty parcels. The leader now walks with a limp. The Dawn Rat is not with them. We had not encountered these Dawn Rats last time we were here, I don't believe, but I think maybe we were supposed to have, because that would have made a little bit more sense if that wasn't our introduction to those people. Alright, well, let's write a report, obviously. And then we have some things to do here. So first of all, we want to free the half glass empty. There was something else, wasn't there? Oh, right, we dropped off that package, and I need to be rewarded for doing so. Let us head toward Azimuth. Right, this is where we want to be. Yes, complete your charitable mission. You successfully delivered the manuals to Brabazon, no doubt transforming 600 lives for the better. Think of how efficiently they will be tying their bow ties now. Now they just actually need some bow ties. The sequencer clasps his hands together. I can just imagine their smiles, he says. And oh, their wide, grateful eyes, and their misshapen bow ties crying out for correction. He sends his orderlies to fetch your payment. There's a glint in his eye. I knew I was right about you. The sequencer brought us together for a reason. We should send another package. Alright, well, 250 sovereigns is certainly welcome. Another crate is dropped at the sequencer's feet by his shuffling orderlies. Here we have a collection of antique but very much functional pistols, he says brightly. I was thinking we could send them to the London Refuge for the lamentably parentless. I'm sure the little mites will enjoy the thrill of the hunt. Well, we could prioritize our own personal gain. Remarkably, this is a thing we could get away with. You could suggest an alternative gift, or we could just accept the mission because this is a good way to get paid. It seems like he's pretty free with the sovereigns. And while we do have a lot of things we can sell, we don't have enough to make that new locomotive yet. I think I am inclined to just accept his mission. This is perhaps not what they would want, but yeah, that's perhaps not what they would want, but I sort of don't care. Listen, I'm just out here trying to get paid. Okay, so we could try to go back to the Sun-Shattered Dome and get ourselves some more stuff to sell. What I really need to do is not gain terror, though. So I think we can bounce out of here. And then it's down in the vault is where he was kept, right? Okay. Oh, that's right. This is where the steward was. So we bring the three permits to the steward. One to authorize the release of the half-glass empty, one to authorize the authorization, and a third to confirm that the authorization has been authorized. The steward takes the permits, shuffled through them, then drops them straight into a wastepaper bin. Seems to be in order, she says. I don't know why we were tasked with keeping prisoners here anyway. As far as I'm concerned, my job is to keep the valley lights on, not mess around in politics. Come on, I need to supervise releases personally, not that it's ever come up before. Her mouth is a grim line as she redons her helmet. With the occasional hiss of pain, she makes her way up to the surface. Entering the glass house, the steward can only stare in horror at the state of the prisoners. Has she really been so isolated until now? The sun, she mutters. Broken, hateful thing. Damn it. Silently, she unlocks the empty cell. Then she quickly turns to leave. You hear something shatter. She limps away, knee crunching, leaning heavily on her cane. Man, it is truly horrifying here. I can't imagine what would compel you to stay. There's room on the locomotive. If we could just take everybody. The empty steps carefully from his cell. Half his face is contorted with rage and grief and relief. The other half is impassive. That's a nice, gentle way to describe it. Thank you, says the freed prisoner. He pauses, struggling with himself, then simply repeats, Thank you. Shuffling awkwardly, partly assisted by your crew, the half-glass empty boards your train. He doesn't know where he wants to go yet, he says. Just away. Yeah, I can see why that would be the case. So that is all we needed to do here, and I am kind of thinking we should, get the hell out of here. We're going to have some serious problems very, very soon. The Dazzled Sequencer sells buckets full of armaments retrieved from Azimuth. That's a lot of munitions. And it's not even that expensive to buy them all. I say let's just fill the hold. Terrible hazard, all these instruments of lethality lying about the place, and most untidy. Keen to get them off the sun. Very keen. Okay, well, we'll drop these off in London. Maybe we are just going straight back to London. Alright, let's get the hell away from the sun, because it is terrible here. Boy, they really amped up the graphical effects of being near it, though. This looks really cool. It's a nightmare, but it looks really cool. Okay, so there's a bad guy there. He is definitely aware of us. Good news is, first of all, I have the drop on him a little bit, I think. Secondly, that Dreadnought's right there. I thought he was maybe going to help. Alright, well, I suppose let's just loot the hold. We don't really have a lot of room in our hold. 2 fuel. Okay, well, let's jettison... Was this literature supposed to go to the sun? I don't remember. Let's jettison... Probably the 2 fuel. Is that right? The 2 fuel... The barrels of fuel are the least valuable things we have on the ship. It would be a shame to run out of fuel, but even if we jettison these, we still have, we'll pop a new barrel of fuel pretty soon, but then we'll still have 3 left after that. Yeah. As we're just not really getting any value from having fought that guy. Now let's get away from the sun. And maybe I should be taking a more direct path. Yeah, you know what? Let's do that. Okay, almost ran into a rock. Let's just get around the other side of this big rock here. One of the things I know they stated was a motivation for the redesign of Albion was to improve the look of the area, and I think that they've done quite a good job of that. The bits of Albion that we've seen so far are really quite a bit more visually impressive. Alright, show me something good. Oh, something ghastly. I don't think we want to go look at that. I mean, in our current state. I'm curious, but I also want to live. The wind is restless. Sediment blows in ochre billows from the crags. Now let's wait until we get a little bit further forward, and then we'll send out the scout again. It is a shame that I looted those barrels of fuel right before we cracked into another crate of fuel and supplies. If I had waited, like, just hung out there for a couple of seconds, we probably could have brought all that with us. Whoa, is that a tackety? What the hell's a tackety doing here? You alright, buddy? Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Okay. I was about to say, he's glowing and he looks a little funny. Well, seems to be aware of what's going on with us. Ow. Actually, that didn't do that much damage. That was a reflexive ow. Ah, yep. Still hard to hit him. Well, we caught him with a little bit of that. Oh, that's not going to work. By this point, I should know you have to lead him more than that. He is quite tough, isn't he? Oh, this is going to get me hit. There we go. He's got to dodge toward him so that I'm to his side instead of in front of him. That's not going to work. And they really are good at dodging. Alright, we just gotta get closer. I can't win by engaging at that range with these guys. Okay, that was a maneuver on both of our parts. Stop rubbing against me like that. It's almost like he doesn't want either of us to be skyworthy. Alright, well... At this point, I think perhaps we ought to continue our bombardment. Excessive, perhaps, but satisfying. We are getting desperate on terror. Your guns thunder, reducing the writhing guests to a spray of pulp. Your crew cheer. The guests are a regular actor in Skyfarer's nightmares. A daily check for foot-long, eyeless slug things is conducted on most engines. It only takes one for an infestation to begin. So, we didn't have the option to gather guests on that one, did we? I don't think. We still need more for that weapon, I believe. Alright, get out there and find me something useful. Okay, like another port. That's useful. I bet that's Brabazon. We're in an area that looks very work-worldy to me. Also, I mean, I was about to say also just very desolate and unpleasant, but yeah, I guess that's what I mean by work-worldy. So we could have gone around... Alright, we'll try going around the north side of this big rock. Although it is turning out to be a very big rock, isn't it? Oh boy. A sudden jolt. I think we hit something, Archivist, your driver observes. The mists are thick. You could turn back and search for it. Well, we could offer whatever it was to the Waste Waif and reduce our terror by 50, but increase our nightmares. You know what I like is not having any nightmares. We could go back, use up fuel, and there might be danger, but perhaps whatever you hit was valuable. We can't afford to sacrifice fuel right now. Just keep going. Oh good, more terror. Better not to know. Whatever treasure, horror, or debris wandered into your path, you will leave it to the mists. Our character's not really a better not to know sort, but survival does matter quite a bit. Alright, I think that we probably ought to just mourn the dead here. We gotta do everything in our power to lower our terror. Oops, I hit the wrong side thruster there. Well, that's very unsettling. You know, it's just very grim out here. Mind you mark the way back, Captain, says the stoker. The Ormswold is a labyrinth. The Ormswold? Okay. Well, that's, I think, maybe... I don't believe that that's a thing we had seen before. This might be a new port. There were some places in Albion that we had not found previously. That said, it doesn't seem to be that much of a labyrinth. Maybe I'm speaking too soon, though. Boy, I could really use a bunch of those fields of coffins right about now. Just sitting here with our hats over our hearts. Nullius in verba. Okay, well, that is familiar after all. Where's the actual dock? It's all the way over there. Okay. Well... So our plan was to drop off the incautious driver here, but we're currently using the driver. I guess let's try something. If I swap the driver out, so we drop below the iron's threshold. Oh, you can't do that outside of a port. An uninvited guest. A commotion in the cabins. A stoker has discovered a creature wrapped affectionately around his Toby jug, a gift from his aunt. The creature is as long as your arm and looks like a leech bred with an eel. It is one of the guests. The guests are drawn to glimmers of sentiment in the broad, hard skies. One attracts others until they fill a locomotive like the meat fills a sausage. By the time they move on, you will have been mashed to a paste. Well, we should definitely conduct an extremely thorough search then. If there's one, there may already be more. No one knows how the guests communicate with each other across such vast distances, but somehow, word gets out. Wow, our mirror skill, which is quite good, I think, is not sufficient to get anywhere near guaranteeing us victory here. Your crew are thorough, even stripping panels from the walls to check the cavities behind. They locate and expel nearly half a dozen of the glistening, coiling creatures. Was that all of them? There's no way to be sure. No, it was not all of them. Well, that seems really bad. Okay, that was a little expert piloting maneuver we pulled there. So let's... Okay. We'll swap over to here. Okay, so that does... I mean, it's placed a little exclamation point here, but it hasn't forced me to lose any cargo. But I'm wondering if it will if we try to leave the port like this. Alright, we'd better keep the driver on for the moment until we have enough iron to keep our hold operational without him. We could gain some iron by swapping... Nope, never mind. Actually need you... We are just barely enough iron, so no officers swapping until we fix that problem. Okay, well, could volunteer with a short-sighted professor because I am desperate to reduce my terror. Boy, we're having a hell of a time today. The professor's experiments are poorly explained and not particularly pleasant. Fortunately, his laudanum is high quality. You soon slip into a soft haze of indifference, barely noticing the buzz of electrical current through your tongue. That does not seem to have dropped our terror by very much. Okay, so this is a place where we can donate stuff for money. I'm gonna not worry about this for the moment. Was there anything really of value to do here? We could definitely write a report, obviously that. We needed a... Was it just one permit to allow them to turn the telescope? Because we do have one permit left. And now that we've dealt with our half-glass empty situation, I'm thinking it might be okay to spend it this way. Let's go... Where was that? That Nell's Tower? Yes, it was. Okay. Deliver the chair in the Effulgent Sciences permission to move the telescope. I think this is an okay use of our permit. I have paperwork from London that could plausibly justify her continuing her researches into the distant stars. The ascent to the telescope is arduous, and up an improbable number of winding stone stairs. At the top waits the telescope, gargantuan and gleaming as a dragon slumbering in its lair. The chair pulls the machinery to open the dome to the heavens with visible glee. For a few moments she stands alone, looking up, bathed in distant starlight. And then she's at the telescope, lowering the great barrel until the lens is at her eye. Okay, well, I guess let's read her report. That doesn't actually... I thought that was going to lead to a little bit more of a scene. Over there, the bursar says through a mouthful of muffin, on the desk for your perusal. A small measure of progress was achieved. I fixed the telescope firmly on the horizon as I had indicated previous. Much must be left to speculation, but I believe there are commonalities with my observances at Port Avon. A different intent, for sure, but one must wonder, for how long have our microscopic activities been under the lens of minds immeasurably superior to our own? The sort of thing you probably don't want to spend too much time thinking about. Well, I do not think that I want to observe the Clockwork Sun. Doing so has proven to be very unpleasant for us. I guess we'll just come back later when she's had more time with the telescope. Doesn't seem to be much else to do here right now. We can just go ahead and accept defeat. I accepted that race something like 5 months ago, so not a great time. Also, I didn't go to the place I was supposed to go. Not to worry, not to worry. You can always try again. Well, I wonder if it's always the same destination, because it was the same destination both of the times we tried before. I guess let's find out. Reach the floating parliament and return to the Rochester Club within 30 days. Okay, so it is always the same. Maybe it's always the same until you win this race, and then perhaps there are more. We don't really need more literature, do we? This literature is headed for the Avid Horizon. Yeah, I don't really need more literature, I don't think. I guess... How far are we from going back to London? Do I need to just go back to London right now because of our fuel situation? No, we can buy fuel here. Yeah, let's not pick up any more literature. We are definitely going to buy a whole bunch of fuel. Like a whole bunch of fuel. I think that's reasonable. Okay. So yeah, we don't really have anything else to do here. We picked up the port report, but short of selling a bunch of stuff to the exhibition... Let's actually have a quick look at the arsenal, because I have forgotten exactly what is on offer here, and there's at least a possibility that there's a better use for our bridge slot than this. Okay, bridge slot requires 50 veils. Plating slot, it's worse plating that gives you some crew quarters. I don't think we need that. Veils of 75, not even close. Library system is hold and armor for the auxiliary slot. A cannery that is mounted in the bridge slot. So we'd give up a ton of hold space, but then we wouldn't need to keep the cannery here. Although moving the cannery out of here gives up even more hold space. Yeah, I still don't think we actually want any of this stuff. Okay, I've seen all I want to. So we certainly don't want to go contributing because I don't actually want any of your modifications. Yep, alright, let's just get out of here. It's weird. You have to tap forward to get the docking grip to disengage, even if you want to go backward. A junior signaler receives a dose of medicinal port in the infirmary after seeing a frozen corpse spin past a window. The experience has shaken him. The dead are hungry, he says. We need to make an offering, or it'll come back, knocking at the hull. Alright, well... we could jettison some supplies, I suppose. We could double back for the corpse and loot it. That'll show him. That's probably going to increase terror, if anything. It didn't take long for Skyfarers to shed their ridiculous old nautical superstitions and replace them with ridiculous new ones. Still, better keep the crew happy. Yeah, you know what, I'm fine jettisoning some supplies to lower terror. Was not a lot of lowered terror. We could swing back in here and grab more crates of supplies, but you know what, let's just keep moving. So... still no interest in something ghastly. Yeah, I guess let's just keep on, right? We'll head out of here the way we came in and just continue moving around the edge of the area. So I can't remember exactly where I was in the story of my little revelation. I was trying to figure out what it is that I find so difficult. Like, I find it difficult to even engage with poetry. And I was trying to figure out why that is. Because if I have an interest in solving this problem, I probably have to understand it first, right? I think I've hit on it. I was watching some philosophy tube while I was thinking about this, because I was thinking a lot of the poetry I have difficulty with anyway, is sort of about ephemeral things. And so is a lot of philosophy. But I don't have the same problem engaging with philosophy, feeling like I at least understand where it's going enough to try to grapple with it. And I think the issue is that I am just very into precision in communication. I think that a cause of a great deal of unpleasantness in the world is the fact that people both... alright, he found nothing, really. People both think and speak very imprecisely. I mean, I'm sure this is probably a pretty universal human experience. Ooh, clock chimes in the distance. Parliament, a stoker says. So we're not that far from the floating Parliament. Maybe we could accidentally win this Winchester race. You said we had 30 days, right? Well, there's a wonder over here. Let's go check that out. But yeah, I'm sure it's a universal human experience to have had an argument with somebody that you care about, only to find out, somewhere near the end of the argument, that you didn't really disagree in the first place. The whole thing was a miscommunication. I think we'd all be a lot better off if we, figured out how to communicate precisely enough to avoid that, right? And I don't think that that's like a revolutionary idea. But I believe in that so strongly that I think part of the problem I have with certain types of art... oh, this wonder's Big Ben. The Tower of Chimes. Okay, well that's very interesting. It's not the floating Parliament or anything that is indeed directly relevant to us. But I guess I feel a little bit better knowing where all the chiming is coming from. Our scout has found something over here. I was really hoping we were right on top of the floating Parliament. But yeah, thinking about, like, the way Cultist Simulator communicates and the way I feel about it, and my difficulties describing the way I feel about it, I think part of the problem I'm having is that there are some ideas... how do I want to phrase this? Hold on, let's go over here and pay our respects to all these wonderful coffins. Oh, thank God, look at how much terror we just lost. That's wonderful. We gotta find another one of these. There are some ideas where communicating them, increasing the precision of the communication of the idea decreases the accuracy of the communication of the idea, where it's not just that you can't figure out how to put it into words, but trying to put it into more tightly defined words makes it impossible to communicate the thing that you were trying to communicate. Oh dear, we've lost fuel. An eruption of guests in the engine room has ravaged your fuel reserves. The engineers have had to evacuate, and the guests, their passions kindled by the boiler's sultry warmth, tangle in indecent congress. Oh, I didn't realize they were reproducing sexually. Okay. We could offer the guests a cabin. You'll need to evict some crew, but it should get the guests out of the engine room. Are we negotiating with them? Is that how we're going to solve this? Or we could sabotage our own engines. Perhaps lowering the temperature will dissuade them, though getting it back up to pressure afterward won't be cheap. Well, we have enough fuel that we'll still probably be able to get back to London. And there's a better than 50% chance of this working. Alright. Fingers crossed, everyone. Oh, who didn't cross their fingers? Yeah, you. I see you. How dare you? The guests are spreading through our vessel. Your guest timer quality is now 608. That seems bad. As the temperature falls, the guests' sinuous entanglements only grow more enthusiastic. They are quite capable of creating their own warmth. A blushing stoker averts his eyes. Several hours later, the vigorous activity in the engine room finally dies down. Guests lounge, boneless and satiated, across the boiler. Abruptly, one guest from each trio pulses, swells, then bursts into a flurry of smaller, thumb-sized guests, which wriggle excitedly into corners and cracks. The larger ones wearily follow. The engine room is yours again, but you have not seen the last of the guests. We gotta figure out how to actually solve this problem. Alright, well, our scout has found something. Okay, there's a bull cantankery over there. Maybe if we go back to London, they'll have a service that can clean these guys out for us. We're gonna have to go around this wreck. Looks like a floating parliament to me, though. A crewman explains the concept of democracy to the devil. Laughter ensues. Yeah... feel a little bit personally targeted. Okay, well, it certainly has been fewer than 30 days. And we just got an achievement, so I guess this must have been the last port in Albion that we had not found yet. The ancient palace drifts through the void, a monument to British democracy and the greatness it believes it brought to the high wilderness. An elderly guard watches with suspicion as you dock, but relaxes at the sight of fellow Londoners. The Palace of Highminster. It's no longer to the west, I guess. The Empress shipped the Houses of Parliament brick by brick from Old London to the high wilderness to help her govern. It didn't take long for her to grow weary of the questioning of her authority and have it severed from London. Parliament now drifts free in this distant corner of the sky. It continues to pass laws, but hardly anyone pays attention. Well, I suppose we ought to compile a report. While the palace is off limits to most, there are always ministers and civil servants whose busy schedules allow a moment for a free drink. You ask the obvious question. What is the point of Parliament when her renewed majesty never gives her assent to any of its proposed laws? They bristle. Tyrants fall. Democracy endures. Boy, that's a hopeful notion. Well, let's find the race marshal. Lord Rochester is propping himself up at the estranged bar. He needs to confirm you've reached the floating parliament. We have lots of other stuff to do here, but let's get this done before I forget. Lord Rochester regards you with bleary-eyed delight. How sensational, he brays, with rather more S's than our usual. Jolly glad you made it. Care for a tipple? He shakes his head. No, you'd best be on your way. He waves you back to your engine, but not before thrusting a few bottles into your arms for the return leg. Okay, so our terror has fallen even further. Actually, we're, pretty under control now. And we've got ourselves some more supplies. Do they sell fuel here? Because I could really use fuel. No, of course they don't. Well, that's a little bit of a problem. I guess our best option for fuel is probably making it back to Airy House, right? Yeah, probably. Alright. Let's see what else there is to see here. A welcoming party. Smiling, nervous young people greet you as you disembark. "Excuse us," the man in the yellow rosette calls. "Excuse me, a minute of your time." Everybody wants a minute of my time. The smiling man wearing the yellow rosette cuts in first. "Captain, join our campaign to celebrate Albion and restore old-school patriotism to the land by officially renaming Wednesday as Victoria's Day. Praise her renewed majesty for all she has..." The smiling woman wearing the green rosette effortlessly cuts in. "For killing democracy? For our subjugation? No, Captain, we must make a stand for freedom. We must show the Empress that we will not just sit idle. Join us as we triumphantly rename her precious Victoria Sponge to the People's Cake." They look at you with a hungry expectancy. Well, I suppose there's something to be said for trying to play nice while we're in the Queen's backyard, but we really don't like the Queen that much, and also our character's not that good at deception. Also, here in this place, probably Parliament is not too fond of the Queen at this point, so... the Empress. Excuse me, how dare I. So, yeah, I vote in opposition to the Empress. Quietly, of course, very quietly. There are ears everywhere. The two scribble down your answer. "Thank you," says the woman with the green rosette, and turns to her opposing number. "One for me, a clear majority." "Too bad nobody's listening," mutters the man in the yellow rosette. The two disappear toward the palace, where no new laws have made it onto the books in years. I am advancing my parliamentary career. Turns out it doesn't take much. Well, let's observe the People's Perpetual Protest. A ragtag mob of protesters have set up camp on the lawn. No two want the same thing, but their cacophonous chanting is impressive. Parliament has little power, but at least there is a chance it might listen. That is more than protesters can expect at the throne of ours. The protesters raise their voices with a spirit of camaraderie and a united belief that words can still make the world a better place, with neither anger in their words nor violence in their demands. At 3 on the dot, the huge portcullis opens and the protesters are served tea, scones, and little cucumber sandwiches cut into triangles. A little recognition of the protesters' ongoing service to this most vital part of British democracy. Well, I do have opinions to get off my chest, and, again, I think making a name for ourselves as someone who is annoyed by the Empress, at the very least, probably is good for advancement here. You could probably take this too far, though. You scream until hoarse, wave borrowed placards, and invent witty slogans that trip off the tongue and are quickly picked up by those around you. The world does not seem a notably better place as a result of all this protesting. Still, even a tiny ripple has the potential to become a tidal wave. You have marginally raised awareness of whatever your cause was, maybe, and apparently the story about this is going to be entertaining to somebody. Alright, well, I am not yet allowed in any of these fancy areas, so I guess let's explore Trader's Green. It was originally named for Cromwell. Someone clearly holds a grudge. My understanding is that that's sort of the main occupation in the palace. The replanted gardens are a pleasant place to enjoy a walk, though the buildings are out of bounds to casual visitors. The Empress's Gate is particularly fortified by a heavy chain and a padlock too rusted to ever be unlocked. A few protesters are taking a break to picnic on the lawn, away from the guards. Braver or more foolhardy ones sit on the aisle's edge, swinging their legs over the sky as they eat their sandwiches. Yo, that is a terrifying idea! Why would you do that? It's near them that you spot the fellow in the suit, swaying uncertainly. His footsteps have taken him precariously close to the edge. Nobody seems to have noticed. Okay, we should probably not just let that dude fall into space. He looks like an MP, but even so. He sees you coming. Startled, he steps back and with a drunken cry is gone, over the edge, and soon little but a dot in the swirling clouds of the wilderness. Well, that's unfortunate. I wonder, if I hadn't done anything at all, if he might have remained on land. A small army of civil servants soon swarms from the nearest gate, staring over the edge, agreeing what appalling timing and manners the fellow had, and already arguing over whether the most appropriate memorial would be a bronze plaque on a bench or a new ficus somewhere within the parliamentary halls. A tap on your shoulder distracts you. A tall clerk, flanked by 2 claymen. "Excuse us." He glances you up and down. Yes, very suitable. A moment of your time. An election has been called in Lustrum. Huh. He sits at a huge mahogany desk in prestigious Downing corridor. Your conversation doesn't distract him from writing notes in the margins of endless pieces of paperwork. He pauses his scribbling only to sip from a large cup of stone-cold tea, or to scratch his head with the pen's long silver nib. That seems both kind of dangerous and also like a really good way to accidentally write on your head. He looks down his nose at you with the grim expression of a headmaster waiting for an excuse to break out his favorite birch rod. Alright, there'll be none of that. I have cannons. Tea? Yes, I will call for some tea. The loss of our dear minister for, he hesitates, covertly checking a file. Lustrum, yes, is a tragedy. But we must move on. You seem just the sort I'm looking for, lucid, breathing. Have you considered a career in politics? He holds up a hand. No, I do not care about history or affiliations. A bum in the chair will suffice. The Department of Albion Affairs would be a suitable starting point. If you're interested, I'll set the wheels in motion. Okay, visit Lustrum if I wish to stand for election. You know, I think they like us there. We could maybe win that. We'll become a member of Parliament, and then... That probably doesn't actually mean very much, it seems, but might open a door or two. Okay, there's nowhere else for us to go here. Yeah, nowhere else for us to go. So, now we have to make a decision about whether or not I think I can make it back to the Royal Society. Well, the Royal Society sells fuel and supplies. I mean, I think it's further from here to London than it is from here to the Royal Society, so I guess let's just go back. Complete the race. Maybe actually make it back there. I think I'm going to not buy any of this tea. We certainly have uses for tea, but I don't want to weight down the engine any further. I'm sure it's just my imagination, but it feels like this this locomotive has a little bit more of a kick. Like when I press W, it feels like it jerks forward a little bit harder, which I appreciate. Feels sort of peppy. Alright. Out of curiosity, is there a marker on our journal for what date we took that race? Let's see here. Nope. Just within 30 days, but I don't remember what day it was when we started, so we may or may not make it in time. I feel like we took a pretty direct path to the floating parliament. I don't know how much faster we could really have done that. So that gives me hope. Oh wait, that is not on the same plane I am. I can just fly right over that. I guess we did sort of awkwardly go past Big Ben. Well, I'm going to take the opportunity here to pay our respects once again, or... Nope, can't interact with that. I guess it's the one we interacted with before. We didn't get far enough away for it to despawn. I'm definitely worried about the fuel. Maybe we could shovel some guests into the boiler? Our engine seems to be replete with rapidly replenishing biomass. I'm sure we could make good use of it. Where London abandons the things she would rather forget. And hey, here's that remedial school. I gotta say, part of me bristles a little bit at the depiction here of protest as functionally useless and it doesn't matter what your affiliation is, whatever, it's all the same to us. Certainly true, I suppose, for a certain political class, but maybe it's just, I'm from the US right now, and I'm from the US all the time, actually, no matter when it is, and right now, it feels like if protests can't change things, then we're just totally fucked in a way that's gonna also totally fuck most of the rest of the world. So basically what I'm saying is, you all out there better hope protests can change things. It's gonna be bad for everybody. Alright, well I almost crashed directly into Doolin's promise. Don't know exactly what it is but from here, Sort of looks like a promise that wasn't worth making. I am deep within the Ormswald. That's not true. I'm like 10 feet within the Ormswald. Alright. So it's been like 3 days since we left the Parliament, I think. Can't remember. That thing where we turned off the engine. Did that cost us time up there? It cost us time when we did it down near the Clockwork Sun. Well, we shut the engine off to repair it, but I don't think it cost us any days up near the Parliament. So I think we might actually make it back in time. And then from here, we probably will head back to London. There's still an awful lot of sky to explore, but we can go through London to the rest of it. Oh, man. Screams from the aft. Several boils of guests have erupted simultaneously throughout the locomotive and conglomerated into a tide of wriggling flesh that surges inexorably along an aft passage. Drastic action is required. So we could contain our guests in the aft, abandon the posterior third of the locomotive, and let the guests exhaust themselves, and then, you pray, they may depart. We can temporarily abandon, but anything that costs fuel is not really an option. Or we could muster our crew and drive them out. Close and bar the doors, where necessary use clubs and pistols to herd the guests. We have a 52% chance of success at that. A 65% chance of success at this. We could afford to lose quite a bit of hull, and if we're headed directly back to London, it's probably not a big deal. We certainly have the money for repairs. I think I would rather risk losing hull than what looks like it might be a considerable amount of crew. Yeah, alright, let's do this. Okay, well, we succeeded. It looks like the damage wasn't too bad. You barricade the corridors with plating stripped from the hull. Behind them, the guests surge. The barricades bulge. You hurry to reinforce them, hearing the gelatinous sounds of more erupting guest boils from the aft. Your locomotive groans with their weight now. For a whole day, the crew struggled to keep the defenses intact. Then, in the morning, silence. You risk a look. The aft sections are a ruin, slick with greasy secretions, and littered with broken machinery and equipment. The guests have departed. Okay, we only lost 14 hull there. We did gain quite a bit of terror, but we are no longer plagued by guests. We got them all out. Since he boarded your train, the empty silence has started to get on your crew's nerves. What kind of man doesn't even sit to play around with cards when asked? Isn't he bored? All he wants to do is stare out of the windows. Worse, he still hasn't told you where he wants to go. The crew are starting to worry he's a permanent addition. Alright, well, I suppose we ought to ask him what's up. He turns to you, chewing his words. Finally, he spits them out. I have a confession. I miss the light of the sun. He avoids your gaze. I miss the pain of its touch. I miss the songs in my head. But I won't go back. Won't give him a satisfaction. So I want you to shatter me. Break me into 1,000 glittering pieces and let me bathe in the sun's light. Okay. My concern with that is that it seems very irreversible. Then again, so there's a thorny ethical issue here as to whether or not... I guess there's two ethical issues. One, does a man have the right to seek his own end? Two, does a man have the right to enlist me in the seeking of his own end? Because I'm not super down with this. Yeah, I don't want to be responsible for this. Listen, I've blown up a lot of people, but very few of them face to face with my own hands. Usually, like, I yell something and then somebody else pulls a lever and then some other stuff happens, and you realistically, you could say physics is what kills them most of the time. I'm not willing to kill you with a hammer. Here's the thing. I've never killed someone with a hammer before. It sounds awful. I don't want to do it. There is a place called Carillon, where devils help agonized souls find healing. Perhaps they can help the empty recover from his dependence on the sun. It has to be better than being smashed to splinters. After much persuasion, he finally agrees to give it a try. Carillon will shatter me as sure as the hammer, he says. Difficult part comes after. The repair. Okay, poetic license. A little bit of wordplay. See, I'm down with that. I'm gonna go around this way. See, I think we left the floating parliament on the 8th of November. So, provided we made the trip out there in about the same amount of time, this is pretty good. We totally will have won the race. Wait, no, I want to go to the Rochester Club here. Okay, claim victory in the race. I have triumphed. It's a good feeling. Wow, 500 sovereigns. The room bursts into applause as you enter. A full bottle of champagne is located, opened, and sprayed vigorously in your direction. Please don't do. I don't like that. Good show, good show. Lord Rochester is red-faced with delight. It's damn near pipped me getting back. Very proud to call you a Rochester. Very bloody proud. His praise is fulsome, as is the bag of sovereigns pressed into your hands. Yeah, can we do more racing? That's a fine amount of money. Yeah, alright, let's take on the offer of another race. I'm thinking I'm not going to actually bend our path too much for this, but who knows, maybe it'll be something we can sort of complete incidentally on our way to the other things we need to do. Alright, we gotta reach the Clockwork Sun and return within 30 days. Yep, definitely not doing that. We gotta go back to London. Okay, so nothing else really to do here. We could stop in at this place and read the latest report, see if it's any different, any more useful. Nope, same report. Same report, wondering things that perhaps should not be wondered. Okay, it's been a rough episode, I think, for our supplies and also our locomotive in just a whole bunch of different ways. Do we want to take on a little bit of discount literature? I say if we're headed back to London, we can just sell this stuff off at a very slight profit. Yeah, sure. Oh man, still more, really? You discover a stoker angrily defacing the engine's Bible. He claims that here in the heavens there are more pertinent gods than that of King James. Immediately he launches into a sermon about the burrower below, the worm mother, general progenitrix of the devourers of days, who are called the Igine, maybe? She tunneled the paths across the sky. Every transit is a trespass. We must give praise. Okay, hey, would you maybe just, drink until you don't want to say these things anymore? Is that something that we can do here? Alright. I guess people have calmed down a little bit. So, I'm noticing that the marker for something ghastly has disappeared. Must not have been permanent, whatever it was. I kind of want to see where the southern exit from this area is. I think that it would be valuable to us to know that. Because that'll be a much easier way to get in here from London than going all the way around the north. Also, once we're a little ways out from the port, we definitely have enough supplies to send the scout out. So we've gotten ourselves enough port reports that we'll be able to make a pretty decent amount of cash at London. And at some point we'll have to actually figure out exactly how much money we need to have on hand before it becomes reasonable for us to sell off our surpluses and go back to the Reach and buy that better locomotive. Wow, that is a very distant something grave. You found something, but what use is this information to us? And maybe there isn't a good way out to the south? The thing is, I don't really want to head all the way out here. I definitely want to get back to London and try to burn off some of this terror if we can. Alright, does this connect through here? We just go out the north side? It looks like it probably does not. I think this is going to end up being a dead end. Or it's just going to lead us right back to Airy House. Okay, well I guess we're going out the north side then. We can scout for a southern exit to this area some other time. Maybe next time we need to come here from London. I'm trying to think. We have like a couple thousand sovereigns worth of otherworldly artifacts, don't we? And then we have some cryptic benefactors we can cash in. We have that searing enigma we picked up that I don't think we have an immediate use for. Yeah, it's still out there. We ought to see what it is. It's probably just a big rock that we can mine for hours, but, you know, that's not valueless. What was I saying? I don't even remember. Maybe we'll just enjoy a little bit of silence out here. Boy, that rock is really glowing. Okay, still only one barrel. Boy, the Cavi really does have an impressive scouting range. It's a shame he is completely undirectable. So we did discover some valuable stuff here. Like, the location of the Clockwork Sun, I'm sure is going to end up being important. It really feels to me like a thing that we ought to figure out how to destroy. That does seem like a pretty big task. Maybe I'm going to end up wishing that we had taken on Angel in the Rat Brigade storyline. A crazy rat with a love of explosives might in fact be a very valuable thing for the task that we are now contemplating. Alright, well, we'll get to uncover a little bit more terrain on our way back to London, and then maybe we'll find Brabazon tomorrow? What is this? That's strange. Maybe just like a misapplied particle effect? This is probably supposed to be on a building or something, indicating like the lights at the corner of the building. Yeah, weird. So is this central area actually like totally bereft of stuff? Are all of the ports around the outer rim? Boy, there sure are a lot of ghastly things out here today. And terror is such a pain to remove in the Reach. You really just have to get lucky and happen across a couple of those fields of coffins. I mean, hanging out at Perdurance, I suppose, is not a terrible way to lose terror. If I'm remembering correctly. Really, everything about the place should increase your terror, but for some reason, we find it comforting. Our terror is actually really high again. It just sucks to be in Albion. Seems really terrible. We should try to figure out next episode as well, after we figure out where Brabazon is, if we can find a transit relay here, and maybe make it out to another area sometime soon. We have a lot of work to do in Eleutheria, it seems like. Plus, I am very curious what kinds of trains they sell there. Is it this alley? No, it is the next one. Once again, just like I told you, as soon as this the train that just disappeared over here popped out from under that building, I immediately had a brief moment of panic that we were just going to crash right into it. Apparently never going to get over that. Okay. Now let us dispose of the sequencer's well-intentioned package. Listen, I was asked by an official of the Queen's government to deliver these guns to somebody. Not my fault. London produces industrial quantities of orphans, and they are stored in orphanages while awaiting export to a work world. Yeah, you know what? Arming them actually does seem totally within our ethos. Upon opening your parcel, the orphans let loose a loud cheer. A forest of hands appears, grabbing at rusted revolvers and ornate flintlock pistols. Now, now, children, urges the governess, to the orphans' utter indifference. A second cheer goes up as they discover that the pistols are loaded. We've probably done something here. Something of value? I don't know, that seems like a strong assumption. But certainly something. Alright, so we did get a good terror reduction. Do we have anything really to do in London? I don't really want to let the princess set up her salon. We don't have the souls necessary for this thing. Alright, let's go to the Sapphire Yards and fix this up. That's going to be expensive. Yep, it sure was. We can turn in our reports. Okay, so we're back up to 5 gratitude. Is there anything we want to do? Do we have an invitation to Perderance right now? That be in my profile, maybe? Boy, we have a lot of peculiarities. Probably... Yeah, I guess if we had an invitation, it would be in our possessions area. Oh, we have a bunch of invitations, in fact. Never mind. We're totally fine. Certainly don't need Savage Secrets right this moment. I guess let's just shop and then call the episode. I might even... Oh, I was going to sell some stuff. That's right. So first of all, the bank. We want to throw all of these in there. Do we need... Oh, we do need Chorister Nectar. We need Chorister Nectar for the work world. So I think, actually, all we're going to sell here is 2 of these literatures. Okay, I think we paid 70 for them, so this is a net gain of 60 sovereigns, which is actually pretty good, considering that we didn't do anything at all to earn it. We only just went places we were already going to go. Alright, I'm going to really stock up. Okay, that should be more than enough supplies to be very aggressive with our scout. Hopefully, we can get as much done next time as we did this time, because that's actually pretty great. Alright, well, I suppose that ought to be it for us for today. Thank you all so much for watching. Come back next time when probably we'll find Brabazon. I mean, there's only so much sky left out here. And we'll see you then.